Hey crafters, today is Friday, July 15th, 2022. I decided to go with a fun project today. If y'all saw my last videos, I cleaned out my shed, and just the process of cleaning it out and seeing how much stuff I actually have between the blankets and the projects and all the yarn that I own, it was overwhelming. And here it is, weeks and weeks and weeks later, and I'm still struggling with having all that yarn piled up in my house. So I needed something fun to do today. I have a project that I made back in, I want to say 2007, 2008. I mean, I don't know, because I don't have any notes on it, because it was something that I made for my kids. So it didn't need to have any notes. It was made with all leftover scrap yarn. It was made when I had time here or there. So they were just toddlers and babies at the time. They would have been anywhere from 5 years old and younger, 5, 4, and maybe 2 years old. I made them a hopscotch. Now, I know you can't see it very well from where I'm sitting, but I mean, I'll take the camera down and I'll show you. But I crocheted a hopscotch for them because in the winter time it gets cold, really cold and gray and snowy, that you can't sometimes spend a lot of time outside when your kids are toddlers and babies. Sorry, the cat's chewing on my cords over there. Y'all have cats that do that? This is my first time. I mean, I've had cats my whole life. This is my first time having a cat that actually chews on my cords. I don't know what to do about it. Anyway, so, you know, like, winters can be long and they can be gray, and you spend a lot of time stuck in the house, so you learn to play a lot of board games, and you color with crayons and coloring books, and you create and invent things to do, right? Well, I crocheted a hopscotch, you know, number 1 through 10, as little blocks, and I laid it on the floor. Now, disclaimer here, if you guys try to make this on your own, because it's a very simple design, if you have tile floor or hardwood floors, it's going to slide, and when it slides out from underneath of your kid's going to fall and hit the floor. They're going to break an arm, or they're going to crack open their heads. Use caution and be very careful, and don't yell at me if that happens to you, okay? I have carpeting in my house, and then when my kids were playing hopscotch, I used to play with them, because I have a lot of fun playing hopscotch, and somebody had to teach them how to do it, right? Because they were just toddlers and babies. So I'm very proud of this project. Like, putting the numbers on, I wanted to stitch the numbers with yarn, and it didn't come out quite exactly as I wanted it to, but it was just enough, and it's fine. I now know a different technique of doing something similar to cross stitch on top of something that's single crocheted. So I'm going to show this to you today. And then what I'm going to do is when I go through the rest of my yarn pile, when I find some white yarn and some other leftover yarns, I'm going to turn my hopscotch into a keepsake. I'm going to turn it into a blanket for them, so they can keep it, and it can travel with them as they're adults. And if they decide to have any children, they can say, hey, look, this is what my mom made for me when I was little, you know. So I'm going to fill in the gaps, and I'm going to turn it into a blanket and turn it into a keepsake for them. So yeah, all right, there we go. That was a long introduction. Let's take a look, huh? Okay, so you know I like to hang my blankets on the shelf, but it's because it's hopscotch. It's so hard for me to show it to you. But there's the number 10, and there's 9, so that's number 8. There's 7, 5 and 6, and there's 4, 3, 2, and 1. But I'm going to take it down and sit it on my step stool and show you, so you get a better view of it, okay? So give me a minute. Alright, crafters. I'm sorry if the lighting is off. I'm fighting the sunlight. It gets really bright, and then the clouds come out, and I've got my ring light on, but I'm still fighting the light. So here's my hopscotch like this. See, there's the number 1, right? I just used a variegated color, and I had just stitched a line around in the shape of the number 1. So this block is done with Red Heart Super Saver, okay, in a pale blue color, And then there is block number 2, which is done in a really pale pink. Next to that is block number 3. Oh, the 3 came out pretty good. And that's on a medium shade of purple. Block number 4 has 2 different shades of green. See? Where it goes from this minty green to a lighter shade of minty green, because I made all of this with all leftovers. The number 5 is done on yellow. Number 6 is on pale pink. Number 7 is done on purple. Number 8 is done on that second shade of green from down on the other block. This is what was left. Number 9 is yellow. And number 10 is a light shade of blue. And I think there's 2 different shades of blue in there. I'm not sure. So that's, and then the border that I did was in this this color that Red Heart had, this variegated color. I think it was called Tropical Delights. Something like that. I actually can't remember. It's been so long. So you see, there's number 10, and then number 8 and 9. The way it goes like this. I would like to crochet more. They're not squares. They're blocks. They're more like rectangles. And fill in this gap here. So like this is number 10, this is number 8. And crochet another block to put in here to square the whole thing off and make a blanket out of it. I wrote down some notes just real quick on how I made it, which I did that just now. So I've got 10 blocks. And they are, it's done in single crochet. It is a chain of 46, and you single crochet in that second chain from the hook, and when you're done going across the row, you got 45 single crochets. Chain 1, turn, and in every single crochet across, so 45 single crochets across. And then I counted my rows. If I counted my rows correctly, from the bottom to the top when I finished, it should be 37 rows of the blue, or pink, or yellow, or green, or purple. It should be 37 rows, and then when I was done that, I did 1 round of this variegated color that went down all 4 sides. Okay? And then when I had all 10 blocks, I single crocheted them together. So see where the pink and the blue meet? And the blue and the purple? Because you see that little lump there? I crocheted them all together. So that is 45 single crochets across, 37 rows, and then 1 round of variegated on each and every single square. And then the border all the way around is done, and sewing them together, which is a single crochet, is done with the variegated. And then I also used the variegated to try to stitch some numbers. So the number 1 was my test, and it didn't come out really well. I would like to redo that, since I know a little bit more now than I did back in 2007 or 2008. But I used to lay this on the floor, and we'd have little pebbles from outside, and we would play hopscotch. We would sit it on the floor in our hallway, and I would play hopscotch with the kids in the middle of the winter. I know you can't see it very well, but this is pink, and that must have been where I joined the yarn together. And there's the purple. I'll show it to you again. You know what? I'll see if I can find a spot to lay it out on the floor and show it to you. So since I was using all leftover yarns, you see the difference in the color in these 2 shades of green? Oh, I really did use scrap yarn for everything back in the day. But I remember having so much fun with this, and you know, as my kids got older, they didn't want to play hopscotch anymore. And when they did play, they played outside in the summer, so I just washed it about once every 2 or 3 years. I would take it out and of its keepsake bin, and I would wash it and freshen it up a little bit and reminisce about it. That is a hopscotch that I made for my kids, and I thought that would be something fun to show you today. Alright, let me see if I can find I don't have a very big house. Let me see if I can find a spot to lay this down to show it to you. Okay, crafters, I did not have any room in my house to lay it out on the floor. We're like 5 people living in 1,200 square feet. So I brought it outside to show it to you in my shade tent that I use to clean out my shed. So here we go. Am I tall enough? Okay, there we go. The number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is the crocheted hopscotch I made for my kids. How fun is that, right? Can you imagine playing that in the house in the winter? God, I've barely been outside 5 minutes and my allergies are already killing me. So you see what I mean by that? If you sit it on your floor, it will slide. You need carpeting on your floor. Alright, let's go back inside. It's 100 degrees out here. So, what do you think, crafters? I'm outside barely 5 minutes to show you the hopscotch, and it is so hot out there and my allergies are already. Oh, I spend most of my summer in the house because my allergies can get really bad. What do you think of my hopscotch? For me, it is a very sentimental piece. I spent years using it with the kids until they were too old to play with mom anymore. Okay, so now it just sits in my keepsake bin, and like I said, I take it out every couple years and I wash it and dry it and freshen it up. And what I would really like to do, because you see how, because hopscotch comes out this way for the double numbers together and then the single number here, I'm going to make little squares that'll fit in this gap here to fill it in, and then to square it off so I can make a blanket out of it, because I think that would be kind of fun and a really neat keepsake. So all of my squares, because they're more rectangular, so let's call them blocks. All of my blocks are roughly the same size, because I use the same numbers for each and every block. Can I tell you how wide it is? How deep it is? No, because I didn't bring my tape measure with me. All I did was sat my foot on the floor and made sure that it was tall enough for my own foot and not too big or too small for the kids when they were jumping on it and playing with it. Okay. So my initial starting chain would have been 46 chains, and then single crochet all the way across, which would be 45 single crochets. You chain one, you turn, and it wound up being 37 rows, and then one round of single crochet in the variegated color, and then I used single crochet to stitch the blocks together, and then a single crochet for the border all the way around. And then I used a sewing needle or a darning needle to whip stitch my numbers on there, which I know there's a better technique for it nowadays. 15 years later, I know there's a better technique for it. So I might add to the numbers that I've already got on there. But I gotta tell you, my first time around doing it, that's not too bad. I can tell that's a 10. My kids can tell it's a 10. So it's not too bad. All the yarn was, or is, Red Heart Super Saver. Yeah, I can tell there's 2 different shades of blue right here. I can see looking at the back. It's Red Heart Super Saver in some kind of light blue and minty green, and it's pale yellow. It's purple, which is probably orchid or something like that. And it's pastel pink. So it's all Red Heart Super Saver, even the variegated. Hook size. Back in the day, I wasn't using I wasn't using an H or a 5mm yet, so more than likely this is done in an F or a G. See if I can figure out my own stitching, huh? Yeah, I wound up getting pretty tight with it, so I'm going to say at least a G, which is what, a 4.5mm? You'll have to forgive me for not remembering right off the top of my head the difference between the US and the rest of the world. So yeah, I would say it's at least a G at a 4.25mm or 4.5mm. So when will I finish it? When will I add to it and make a blanket out of it? I don't know. It is currently on my list of things to do. And in my world of crochet, I have a long list of things to do. I still have bins to go through of random yarn. I still have projects that I need to dig out and finish. I have notes that I need to find, and I have to organize what I brought into the house from cleaning out my shed, which you guys should go watch those videos because that was a hard process. I don't know, I just wanted to do something fun today and take a stroll down memory lane with the hopscotch that I made for my kids. So, I don't know when I'll get my next video up. I want to thank you guys all for being here. I was so overwhelmed, you guys. I had like 500 new subscribers in the space of like 30 days, and you guys are fantastic and phenomenal, and the encouragement that I'm getting from you is absolutely, it's beautiful and it's tremendous, and I thank you all so much, okay? For those of you who are new right now at this moment, go watch my first video. It'll explain that I had damage to my arm and I couldn't crochet anymore after like 40 years of crocheting. So go take a look at my first video, then you'll know what's going on. So I think that's it for today. Yeah, that's it for today, unless you want a life update. My 15-year-old has a summer job. My 17-year-old's got a summer job. My 19-year-old is still in community college and took some summer classes so they can get done with community college a little sooner. So life has been really busy, so that's why I haven't been able to do any yarn stuff. And then plus I don't crochet typically in the summer anyway because it's too warm for me. Even in a house in air conditioning, I typically don't crochet. So I figured since I'm not crocheting, now would be a good time to organize things. So hopefully when I see you guys next, I'll have another bin that I need to go through and figure out what's in it and what I'm doing with it. But until then, thank you guys for being here. My name is Jenny. Welcome to Granny Square Peg, where I'm going on a crochet journey like none other before. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.